Chimerics there? Should we do that as a chanting exercise? Chimerics there?
Chimerics there.
Not too bad, not too bad. All right. It's a global work of three-dimensional storytelling, and what I do is I go around the world installing bronze plaques that honor events from the parallel world and our linear world. And this is one out in the Great Salt Lake Desert, what we would call the Great Salt Lake Desert in Utah. And this is one that's in Basel, Switzerland. And it's like a novel with every page in a different place. And I thought, you know, I was working on some stories. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could actually visit the stories? And that's where and I realized that nobody was stopping me, so I started installing these things. And this is one we did off the coast of Scotland. It's in 20 meters of water, hardest one to reach. It's basically the unsoiling of rockall, and it concerns one of the greatest acts of civil disobedience in chimeric ethereal history, when the people got really sick of their royal family that lived on this giant island, sort of being decadent and oppressing them. So they all the subjects went to the island and removed all the soil and stone from it. So there was just a little rocky nub left for the royal family to rule over, which is a little harsh, but harsh but fair. And islands are very important in chimerics there. They can be their own universes, and so we've done some installations out in Western Australia, what we would call Western Australia, that honor this kind of the creation stories of the parallel world. And this is actually a place in northern Austria where one of my favorite languages is Schiffling Cognate. I don't know if you learned about this in school. It changes meaning after each person reads it, so it's a little tricky. So we also install physical sites. We did something at the last TED conference in Palm Springs, which was really quite neat. And we brought a group of TEDsters out to the Kreblingen Cabin, which is where the Church of the California Christ was based. Do you know them? They believed all the events of the Bible took place in Southern California. Man, education's not so great up here either. I thought it was only Americans that didn't know about this stuff. Anyway, so we brought some TEDsters out there, and they looked at this great sort of 9-point compass. It's only... they have no need for north, so they sort of took that out. And so anyway, you probably, in case, there's, I know you're more multilingual than we are, but there's a language in chimerics there called Cognate. I don't know if you know it. Anyway, the Cognate word chimera means the true physicality of the planet. And an exthere is a shape with almost an infinity of dimensions, infinity minus 29 to be precise. So it's a little, control of those missing dimensions is pretty important. There's a map of chimerics there, and you can sort of see our linear continents through there, but the forms actually represent this quality of existence called Verlammt. I don't know if you know this. It's as different from time and space as they are from each other. Are you familiar with that? It's pretty interesting stuff. So I don't have time to get into all that stuff, but I was very excited to come here and to see, I don't know if you noticed this row of trees there, but there's a kind of a little trail next to it. It looks like a trail, but it's actually, I'm pretty sure, where this, it's hard to see, but where these stone paths were, because I think you may have had a Nacien paddock, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Naciens, but this is a site that we have in what we would call Spain, and Naciens are sort of 7-legged deer-like creatures that are sort of famous because their prime-numbered legs are extremely nutritious. In fact, if you eat that, just take one bite, it'll sustain you for about a month. So explorers are very, very fond of it. Patagonia is trying to license it, but I don't think it'll work. But anyway, so we worked with some artists to restore some old drawings of Naciens in this site in Spain. It was really neat, and each person sort of has their different image of it as they sort of pull them off the rock. And we worked with this group of artists. It was quite neat. And actually, at the TED conference, we actually asked people there also what they thought Naciens looked like. This was some of their versions. I don't know if they had done as much research as they were supposed to. But and then in Namibia, I worked with this group of embroiderers there, which was quite fantastic. And there were some of theirs. The thing is that the non-prime numbered legs are poisonous unto death, so it's a little tricky. So you have to be quite careful. But this is my favorite of the drawings, lovely Nacien. So we may do some research here in Ottawa, we hope, at some time. And they also asked them to draw Compass. And I don't know if you know who Compass is, but he's the urgent god of directionality. He's the one who's always trying to make the world a little too simple. They say he's behind the Euro and Starbucks and Wikipedia, but I don't know that for sure. But it's all part of chimerics there. But Compass is a very interesting fellow. And so I wanted to share a lot of times, go and install the sites and do the storytelling that way, but we also do some working, like I said, with the local community. And so I wanted to finish by sharing a pretty neat experience we had in a village in what we would call India, about 10 hours from linear Mumbai by car. And I told them the story of a woman named Culev Larsze. And do you all know her? Man, drawing a tough crowd, All the Lindsays promised me that people would know who Culev Larsze was. So anyway, but this is, so I told the stories, and then we started drawing them when we did a mural together, and you can see that Culev Larsze was a very striking woman, and she came to the middle of this village, and she didn't say a word, but she had kind of a kind face, an intelligent face, and she kind of made an impression because you can see that she's riding on the back of a saber-toothed tiger, which is an accessory I recommend for all the women in the audience. It really makes an impression. So the townspeople gathered around, and at first they were a little nervous, because who wouldn't be? You can see that the girl in the center, her name is Ségolène, and she has a little lizard on her shoulder. Are there any hunters in the audience? No? I get. Oh, up here? All right. So have you ever heard this rock Mary lizard? Okay, well, it's a very empathetic lizard. It's the most empathetic of the lizards. It's actually kind of telepathic, and I'm sorry, Sarah, it's not compassionate, but it is empathetic. And hunters hate it because when you're in the blind, waiting with your bow and arrow or whatever you have, they make a lot of noise because they know the moment you're about to pull the trigger, so it scares away your prey. So people have kind of hunted them to extinction. But anyway, this lizard was there, and so Culev Larsze had a vision, and she had this vision of a tower that was so tall that it went through the bottom of the ocean up to the sky and into the clouds again, and it was so persuasive that the lizard itself jumped onto the tower. And of course, when that happened, everybody laughed, and it broke the spell, and the lizard fell to the ground, and you can see that bird coming to eat the lizard, and then the saber-toothed tiger ate the bird, saving the lizard, who you can see at the bottom. And what happened was pretty amazing, is that Culev Larsze could speak. And it turned out that she had been cursed, that she couldn't speak until she spoke without words to one without words. And she told the story, because she had been, there was this battle between those who believed in gods and those who believed in the world. And she thought it was really unfair that those who believed in gods, that the gods were helping their believers, because of course, who's going to beat them? So she decided to trick the gods into not helping their believers. And she did that, but she made one mistake, which is that after she tricked them, she smirked. And once she smirked, remember Kompas, he decided to punish her by taking away her language. And so she had a terrible experience when she looked at her reflection, and she didn't even, not just her ability to speak, but she couldn't even think in words. We all think in words. And so she looked at her reflection, and she couldn't even articulate who she was. So she went on this journey until she found a place where she could speak without words to one without words, and it was when the lizard jumped on her vision. And when that happened, by the time she was done with her story, it was sunrise. And the townspeople looked around, and there was a huge tower in their town. It was the Ekelmundi Kerwela of Culev Larsze. It was a tower of wisdom. So what we did is, working with the community, we installed, because it's only in chimerics there, it's hard to reach in our linear world, so we marked the corners of the tower in concrete there. And if you go there, the kids will tell you that story. And I could tell you what Kompas did afterwards, what he did to all the universes that he rolled up into little grains of sand, but that's another story. Thank you very much.